Hello everyone. So today we've got a really highly requested video from the previous video that we had, and it's going to be delving into how we can really quickly and effectively turn our board around, swing our board around in the lineup to catch waves. Now, this is a skill that is a prerequisite for really good surfing improvement and development because it is essentially the make or break for being able to catch good waves out in the lineup. If you are new here, my name's Considine and I'm a longboard enthusiast, competitor, coach, and I'm here to share my learnings and experiences like this one today with you all. So if you do find the video useful, then please feel free to subscribe, and if you know of anyone who might find it useful as well, feel free to share it with them. But let's get straight into it. Turning our longboards in the lineup effectively is an extremely important part of longboarding because of the advantages it gives us for turning effectively to catch waves. There are some common barriers common to many surfers that prevent us from rotating our boards effectively, such as losing balance when swinging the board around, leaving many people avoiding the correct methods and sticking with habits which aren't serving their surfing. If we're having difficulty with this, what we end up doing, and I see this a lot, particularly for people who are around the beginner to intermediate phases of their longboarding, is they avoid the quick turnaround altogether and they wait for the waves facing towards the beach with their back facing the waves. And this, as we spoke about in the previous video, stops us from being able to negotiate our position in the lineup and getting ourselves where we need to be for where the peak is, so the best place to catch the waves. And it gets rid of a lot of feedback that we need to utilize in order to position ourselves correctly. We want to make sure that we can turn the board around efficiently, so let's go through a few different ways that we can do that now. Now, we do have a bit of a unique problem as longboarders because these things aren't small. With shortboards, they're a little bit easier to turn around, but these longboards are quite big. So what we want to go through today is two different options for turning the board around nice and effectively. There's one that's a bit quicker, then one that takes a longer arc where we can stay on our chest, but let's go through those now. So just heading out in the water now. The one that we're going to focus on first is going to be the quick turn. This is where we're going to sit on the back of the board and turn the board around quickly. It's great for being able to paddle to our waves and then do a quick turnaround. So let's get into that now. Alright, so let's go through the quick turn. This one, again, I think it was something that we had a lot of interest on for the last week's video, where we were paddling to meet our waves and then doing a quick turnaround to catch them. It is the quickest and most effective way to turn around for our longboards, but it is a bit difficult because the longboards are bigger. We can do things like lose our balance, and it can be just tricky in general, so I wanted to step through that with you guys today. The two most common problems that we see with this one is either people not being able to turn their board around quickly enough, so they don't quite get that pivot to swing the board around quickly, or the other thing is that they actually lose their balance because they find it's quite wobbly when they step onto the back part of their board. So I wanted to show you a few tips and tricks of how to do this most effectively. So for the quick turnaround, there's three main things that we want to be remembering to do this correctly. Now, the first one addresses being able to turn the board around effectively, not having it take too long, so being able to turn it quickly. For this, it's really important that we don't sit in the middle of the board, but we actually shift ourselves back all the way to the tail. I like to think you should be about 1 to 2 feet in front of your fin, and this is going to be a great place because this is where the pivot point of the board is, and we're going to be able to swing the board around nicely. You can see from this point that I've actually got a lot of my board out of the water. So I'll put it around the side here. And why this is so good is we're actually able to have a lot of our board out of the water, and that means we can pivot and turn the board around much more quickly. Now it's from this point that it actually gets a little bit off balance, and what a lot of people will do is they'll bring their hand right close towards their knee. And this does become a problem because we lose a lot of our balance. The way that we keep balance and stop ourselves from falling when it is pretty wobbly at the back of the board is we actually keep our hands all the way forward where our wrists were when we were lying down. So when we're in the lying down position, find where your ribs are, and then what you're going to do is you're going to sit up, and then you're going to slide yourself further back, but your hands are going to stay in the same position. This is going to allow you to turn around like so, but keep everything nice and balanced. It's widening your base of support on the board, which is really, really handy. Again, if we're all the way back here, we're going to lose a lot of balance, and it's going to be really wobbly and unsteady. This next part is where it can get confusing. So the kicking aspect. A lot of the time we struggle with the kicking, and we'll actually just try and turn ourselves with our hand. So our hand will try and pull ourselves in the water like this, but this really isn't a very effective way to do it. We do need to use our feet in order to kick, but which way do they go? This is where we can run into a bit of trouble. Best bang for buck, in my opinion, is actually focusing on the leading foot. So both feet will move, but we need to focus on the leading foot. If we are going to turn to the right, so right now you can see I'm facing at the back, and I want to turn quickly around to go to the shore. So I'm going to turn and focus on going right first. Again, what we're going to do, I'm sitting in the middle of the board, I'm going to push myself back onto the tail, about a foot from the tail. I'm going to grab the side of the rail with both hands when I don't have a GoPro in my hand. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle with my right foot counterclockwise. Focus on that right foot. You can do it just with the right foot, but I think intuitively what you will begin to do is that left foot will kick along. That left foot will also go counterclockwise, but it will be at opposite ends when you're kicking. So when the right foot is forward, the left foot will be back. And as the right foot kicks counterclockwise through to the back, your left foot will be kicking counterclockwise through to the front. I know it's a bit confusing, and I hope that makes sense, but just focus on the lead foot. So if we're going to turn right, we're going to focus on our right foot moving and pulling counterclockwise, pulling through, and I'll show you what that looks like now. So this is me turning right. And now we've turned all the way around, which is great. In order to go left, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to focus on the leading foot. So we're turning left. We're going to focus on the left foot being the main driver for this one. And the right, again, will come along for the ride. But the left this time is going to go clockwise. So again, pushing myself back to the tail, grabbing the hand on the rail where my chest was to maintain balance. And now we're going to move clockwise with our left foot, which is going to allow us to turn all the way around to the beach. And now I'm ready to catch a wave, but let's see what that looks like underwater. Now again, this is a great pivot turn that we can use to turn the board around when we want to quickly turn, when we're paddling towards the wave and quickly turning around. So let's see what that looks like.
The next method to turning our board around in the water will require a longer arc. We complete this whilst paddling, and because we're still in the paddling position, we have all of our rail engaged, which means that we won't be able to whip our board around as quickly, and we'll need to take a longer arc to make this happen. The
benefits for this method of turning the board around in the water is that we can actually maintain our paddle speed as we're turning the board around, and so we can paddle for the wave and turn the board around at the same time. It won't be a pivot turn and it won't be as sudden as what we did with the previous example, and so we will need to make sure that we've got enough time and enough space to make this one happen.
For this turn though, the good thing is we can follow a very similar principle. Gonna get cleaned up. We need to follow a very similar principle to what we did with the legs with the quick turnaround. That being, when we are going to the right, we're going to focus on the leading hand when we're trying to turn to the right. It's going to again pull us counterclockwise. When we're going left, we're going to focus on the left hand as the predominant hand, and it's going to be pulling clockwise. So it's the same way as what the feet moved, and really try and focus on the leading hand. So if you're turning right or left. And so I'll try and give you guys an example of trying to turn to the left. So again, you can do this when your board is still, but I don't recommend it all the time, just because you can't move the board as quickly when all of the rail is engaged. It's better to pivot off the tail by sitting on the back of your board. If we were paddling into a wave and trying to turn and paddle, that left hand is going to be moving in the clockwise direction to pull ourselves along. So we're paddling, and then say my right arm is also moving at the moment. What we can do is keep that right arm paddling the exact same way, but now we're going to slowly try and pull in a bit more in that clockwise direction. My arm can still exit the water, but it's going to be moving in that clockwise direction. Same thing if we're going with our right arm, we can be firstly paddling straight, and then it's going to slowly dip in that counterclockwise direction in order to make that turn happen. Now, let's use that to get some waves. Whew. Actually a bit of fun in the end. The waves are pretty shocking now, but I got a nice little hang 10 at the end there, which was good. But more importantly, I hope that was useful. I definitely think that integrating that really quick turnaround, so sitting on the back of the board and quickly turn around, is a really important thing for us to learn to do effectively as longboarders. So I hope you can take that away from today and try and practice that to help you get into better waves and help better position yourself in the lineup as well, because it's an important part of that. But then also utilising that paddle as well, so the longer arc turn technique where we're using our hands, staying at our belly. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think of that, and if there's anything else you want to see on the channel, please let me know as well. If you are finding these tutorials and just the channel in general useful, please feel free to subscribe, it helps a lot. But yeah, I hope you guys are getting waves, and we'll catch you on the next one.